What's up guys, welcome back to another video. This one's pretty overdue. We made a ton of changes to my pedal board over the summer, so we've got a lot of new cool tones to show you and how I kind of get them and all of that stuff. We also just hit 2,000 subscribers on the channel. I know it's not a ton, but thank you guys so much just for all the support, digging the content, that kind of thing. If this is your first video of mine that you've seen, thanks so much for stopping by. Super glad you're here. If you enjoyed the video and want to leave a like, that helps me out a ton. Also, if you just want to subscribe so you don't miss anything, go ahead and hit that button and hit the notification bell too so you can catch everything that comes out. Two things for today's video. So all the guitar audio that you're gonna hear, there's no compression on it, no post EQ or anything like that. So everything's exactly coming from the pedal board like you'd hear in front of house or directly into an interface. Second thing, everything is gonna be like time stamped here at the bottom. So feel free to jump around, enjoy the video however you want and just have fun with it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the board itself. This is still the Novo 24 from Pedal Train that I've been using for a few years now. Just love how rugged these things are. I know there's a lot more kind of complete systems or whatever, but I really like how this has been working for me. All the power is the Strymon Zuma and the Ojai running off of that. Super reliable, haven't had any issues with that. It's worked for years now. Almost everything on the actual board is fairly new. So there's a couple mainstays. The interfacer's been there for a while, same with the Superbolt. Vertex Boost, the Julianna's been there a little bit too, but almost everything else is pretty new, or at least new to me. My idea with this board was to get away from some of the more like stereotypical worship tones that I have been kind of using just for years. So I wanted to freshen things up, get back to some more kind of core guitar tones and be a little bit more flexible and have some fun with that too. The biggest change too is running the Universal Audio Dream as my amp right now. The main tone I've had for a long time has pretty much been more Vox centered, kind of around the AC30. Really love how those amps break up and kind of the mid-range you can get, but I almost wanted to force myself to get to know a different type of amp. Obviously the Deluxe is like one of the most recorded guitar amps of all time, so I figured if it works for a lot of people, it should work for me too. So it's been super fun getting to dive into some of those tones, and just it's been unbelievably versatile. I mean, it can, even with like some help from the EV10 that we'll see in a little bit, like you can get kind of almost those Voxy tones with opening up the high end just a little bit and pushing some mids too. So all the tones you're gonna hear today too are through my Gretsch 6122 Junior. So everything on my guitar is wide open. We're gonna start on the bridge pickup. Everything should be off. Only thing that's on right now is just the Dream. All right, let's hear the two pickups together. All right, and the neck pickup. All right, so one thing that I definitely do is I set up the, for this guitar, I set the EQ on the Dream, definitely for the bridge pickup. It's a little bit darker of a sound on this guitar for the neck in the middle, but it really kind of livens up with, especially like the Superbolt and some compression too. So let's go ahead and move to the compressor. This one, I've had it for several months now. I used to run it a lot hotter, kind of much more compression. But I've left it more, a little bit milder now, and I really like what it does. All I'm looking for really is just like a slight lift and a slight grab just to kind of glue stuff together. So let's kick that on. And here's what that bridge pickup sounds with it on. Here's off. And back on. So to me, it really tightens up the low end. Fenders have that really cool, really loose low end, which makes it really fun to play when it's clean, but when you start adding some gain or some volume to that, it can flub out a little bit. So I really like how that tightens up the low end just to make it a little bit more manageable. So yeah, I really like how that sounds. It actually adds a little bit of color. The Mkii I was using just started sounding a little bit flat to me. So you'll kind of see, I know the Lightspeed is a little bit more transparent and all of that, but all of these pieces of gear that I've got now, I want to do like a specific thing. So I'm actually really into kind of adding that flair, adding that tone, and adding that color instead of everything being like super transparent. I just found that over time started to feel a little bit stiff and not super inspiring to play. All right, so I'm gonna leave compression on for the rest of the time. That's just how I would run stuff normally. So let's go to the Lightspeed. A lot of you guys are going to be familiar with this pedal. Super good. This is just what I consider kind of my better pedal. What I'll do also is I'll kind of EQ the frequency on this pedal to match each guitar. So I leave the EB10 for more aggressive cuts or pushes as far as the EQ goes. If I'm playing my Gretsch and then playing the Strat, what I'm going to do is open up the Lightspeed, just let the treble be a little bit more present and kind of wake the Gretsch up a little bit. And then when I switch to the Strat, I'm probably going to bring that more back to maybe 10 o'clock. Since the Strat just tends to be a little bit more pokey, especially on that bridge pickup, helps tame that a little bit. All right, so again, here's clean. And here's the Lightspeed. Right, so this kind of wakes it up a little bit. If I wanted more of a clean sound, what I would probably do is just back some treble, or back some of the gain back, and boost a little bit more level, and you would get kind of more of this sound. So it just changes the compression dynamics just a little bit. I really like how that pedal kind of takes what you're already doing, just adds a little bit to it. Just for the sake of hearing the differences between the drives, I'm gonna keep that off for now. Usually that would just pretty much stay on all the time with the compression too. The Superbolt is next. Everybody kind of knows what that does. This basically is a really bright, open drive for me. It's never gonna be super driven, but it really takes what you're doing, adds some nice mid-range, some nice top end. It kind of allows the guitar to sing without it being too in your face. So here is the clean again, then we'll kick on the Superbolt. So definitely just growls a little bit. If I'm wanting something to kind of cut in the mix, or just be a little bit more present without adding a ton of low end, that's what I'll go for. These two stacked together, when the Lightspeed's maybe a little bit more neutral, EQ sounds super fun too. You can get like some almost like half clean, half compressed tones that are a lot of fun. So if the Lightspeed kind of adds that low end or that full frequency punch, the Superbolt kind of fits right in there, being a little bit more mid and high mid focus. So adding those two together is a bunch of fun. All right, so let's talk about the EB10. This is a really useful pedal. I used to think EQ was kind of like, you know, you should just get your amp sounding pretty good and get your drives and you're good to go. But I've really discovered kind of how powerful just the EQ on its own is. So what this does is has a low, mid, and high frequency band, and you can boost or cut by up to 12 dB for each one, and they go in 3 decibel increments as well. So it's not like trying to super fine tune and wondering if these tiny adjustments are making any difference. You're actually notching 3 dB, so it kind of forces you to be aggressive with the EQ you're doing. What I like to start with, I kind of call it like, it's just a subtle lift. So what I would do is essentially take take the tone I've got and then just raise each band by 3 dB. And what that does, it just kind of makes the guitar feel a little bit bigger, a little bit closer. So here's what that would sound like. You could do some more drastic stuff. You could also layer in, there's a 10 dB boost on that toggle switch there. So if you have that in, now everything's off right now, here's what that would sound like. Add in that EQ adjustment with the 10 dB boost. So you can already hear that's like definitely starting to push the amp into just some natural breakup, some natural overdrive. Now, what if we did something crazy, like took all of the bass out? Let's take almost all of the treble out, and let's boost all the mids just on this pedal. So we're going to pull 12 dB of lows out, pull 9 dB of highs out, and we're going to boost the mids all the way up. So let's hear clean, and then we'll kick that on, and that 10 dB boost will be in there too. Now on its own, that doesn't sound amazing. But what we can do is kind of go back to like those 60s, 70s rock tones, and you'll get something like this. So even though it's not like the prettiest tone ever, definitely has some usefulness. If we put all of the highs back in, so if we're boosting 6 dBs of highs now, here's what that would sound like. So if you're thinking all of that is coming from like this tone, and just from a little bit of EQ, you're getting kind of these really, really cool classic tones. So it's been really fun just to kind of mess around with stuff. There's no right answer with any of this. I mean, even in studio work, like the tone that works is the one that fits the song. It doesn't have to be this perfectly carved, perfectly prepped, like you've absolutely nailed the number of like delay repeats and all this stuff. Like what I've learned with this board is it gives you so much more flexibility to just be a guitar player and kind of experience your guitar, get some really cool tones that actually mean something instead of just doing the same thing that I was used to. So that part of this has been super fun. I'm always tweaking this. You can do like the presets and all of that stuff. I don't really do that per guitar. If I'm using like my Strat, which is just a little bit thinner on the bridge, I'll pump the lows so it kind of rounds the highs really nicely. I'll leave the mids flat because part of the Strat thing is a little bit scoopy. If I want a little bit more power, you can add some mids in there. But if I'm on the bridge pickup specifically with that guitar, I'll probably cut a little bit of highs just to tame that a little bit. But yeah, this has been a super versatile pedal. Really kind of wakes up the guitar in a different way and just makes you feel different things through the amp, like a little bit more stiff, or if you want a little bit more compressy, you can kind of definitely get that. All right, let's move to the ages. This is kind of my like warmer, smoother, I guess, second stage drive. I'm not really running a ton of gain on any of these. I've never really been huge into gain. I actually just got one of the Bender fuzzes from JHS, and that's been super fun. But outside of, you know, a crazy tone like that, I really just want kind of more classic tones, things that are gonna be really, really easy to work with, especially when I'm switching guitars a little bit. So let's go to the clean, and then we'll hear the ages. All right, so again, it's not gonna be like that crazy special drive or whatever. This thing just works anywhere though. Pretty much all the time I'm gonna leave it in one of those 1 or 2 lower gain stages that it has on this mode knob right there. I usually leave the gain just about halfway up so the preamp kind of wakes up a little bit. I love the dry blend on this too. If you get a little bit high, it gets weird. It's like compression with a weird stiffness of the dry. So I don't like a ton of that in there, but definitely around 9, 10 o'clock is kind of the sweet spot for that. This one's super versatile too. So if I were to pull a lot of the bass out and push the mids, it gets pretty bright and aggressive. So this can definitely kind of take on a whole new flavor. So definitely if you want to have that like tighter feel, still with a little bit of like the classic warmth, you can definitely get there with that. I usually like it a little bit more full range, where it has some punch, but also just has that sparkle too. These are really fun to kind of stack with the other two. So if I wanted something more present or more beefy, you know, I'd go with the Superbolt or maybe the Lightspeed. So let's walk through a couple of those and then we'll move on to more mods and delays. So yeah, tons of options. I really just love how these work. I do have a J-Rocket 45 caliber. It's also a top mounted jack pedal. So if I need a little bit different feel, that one's just got a little bit more depth and punch. So I can swap that in. That's like a direct swap for right here, but pretty much everything else stays the same. The Vertex Boost, I'm not really gonna spend a ton of time on that. That still runs my volume pedal. So again, there's no actual audio ins and outs coming into that. It's just a TRS jack that goes to the back right here. I mean, it's what it does. I mean, I usually set it to like an 8 or 9 dB. It's just a clean boost. This is also a fixed 10 dB boost over here, but I kind of bake into that some of the EQ changes that I would be doing in that EB10. If I want something just straight up louder, I'm gonna be using this boost. So we could hear that real quick and then we'll move on to the Julianna. So again, like, I just really like using that pedal to kind of wake something up that's just already been there. Like how it fills out, but again, it's not really doing anything. It's just kind of literally taking what's already there and giving you a little bit more signal. So let's move to the Julianna. Still love this pedal. I use chorus almost all the time. It's on so much that I kind of forget it's there, and that's what I really like about it. We'll do the chorus setting that I usually have on it first, and then we'll go to the vibe setting that I use. So the chorus on this pedal is like super wide, just gives it that depth and that spread. If I'm going for vibrato, these are the settings I'd usually have. So again, let's go clean and we'll kick that on. So again, it's just, mod is one of those things where I'm like, if you're gonna use it, I would put it in a place where it's actually doing something. I think I used mod really, really sparingly before. And even if I had something on, it wouldn't be really bold, or it wouldn't actually add anything to the part. So I'm kind of really aware now of some things that I can bring in, like a little bit more rate instead of having like a vibrato that just doesn't really move at all and barely pitch shifts. So I've kind of liked having that pedal, really versatile, kind of gets me those slightly different sounds that I'm after. All right, let's move to the DD20. So this is the first delay in the signal chain. So what I'm using this for is a little bit different from the El Cap. So the El Cap's going to be a little bit warmer, kind of more of that vibe. The DD20 is really, really good at having kind of those snappier delays. So what I'll do one of two things. So I leave it on this mod. I don't even know what the rate settings are set up, but I'll leave it on the mod. I'll do a higher feedback sometimes with a lower effect level. And the tone can really be, if I'm doing kind of the higher feedback, I'll leave it a good bit darker. And both of these are synced up with this micro clock from Disaster Area. So everything's in time. If I don't need that, I can just kind of unplug one of these and do like the little fun time warp thing with the El Cap if I need to. But as far as set lists go, I can kind of program those in here and just tap to the next song. All right, so here's like a washier setting. I'm gonna leave the Flint on just for a little bit of space, but then we'll kick on the DD20 and see how it just gives a little bit of space behind it. So that's one thing I'll do. I just like the texture that it brings. That would be definitely kind of a setting that I would stack with the El Cap. So another thing that's super fun with this pedal that I really love on the mod setting is just that classic U2 stuff. I know it's kind of like the worship cliche, but to actually get close to some of those tones is a little bit more difficult than you'd think. So the mod setting on this is really, really fun. So I've got my Strat here and we'll just kind of take a look at what that looks like. Here's like a stab of all the effects. So yeah, definitely super fun to kind of get some of those older songs. Just love the feel that the DD20 gets. All right, so let's move on to the El Cap. I've got the Gretsch, again, just to get back to kind of what we're using the rest of the video. Again, this is gonna be kind of more of my mainstay delay sound. I love using kind of the fixed mode. When you go to this C switch, that's quarter note. The B switch is gonna be dotted eighth, but there's also some really fun sounds you can get from the multi as well. It's kind of not random in how the repeats hit, but I just like it smears a little bit and not so straightforward. So we'll kind of walk through some of the settings I have. If I was just doing like a normal song, if it's a little bit faster, of course I'm gonna run the mix just a little bit back. If it's more of an ambient thing, maybe I'll crank that up just a little bit and I'll do kind of the same with the repeats. But this would be kind of a standard, both of these around like 1 or 2. Gives like a really, really nice bed. So we'll kick this on and see what it sounds like. So you can hear it just kind of gives like that wash to the tone, and I love that. You can obviously run it in more aggressive settings than that, but it just never really gets in the way. It does have the spring reverb in there too, just to give it just a little bit more wash. So love how that pedal's been working for me. Last but not least, we'll go to the Flint. You've been hearing the last few pedals just kind of a basic hall setting, not too special. What surprised me and what I was kind of waiting to see with this pedal, coming from the Big Sky, obviously used to like the bloom and the cloud settings, and honestly, if Strymon made like the cloud setting in like a small format pedal, I'd be all over that. But I just love how organic this one feels. So I mean, it can kind of go even from those simple tones, you know, some short haul, that kind of thing, to the spring reverb feel. That's been really, really fun. But it's been kind of really impressive to watch it, watch how it works in higher settings. So obviously you can get that really kind of tame hall sound, but here's kind of a larger setting just on its own. So that's kind of one of the bigger hall sounds. I usually don't do the decay over like 3 o'clock. It just gets to be a little bit long. But even in like a normal song, that's still going to work really well. If I want it to be more cloudy, kind of like the cloud reverb, what I'll do is I'll turn the color up, so that just opens up the treble in the reverb just a little bit. If I want it to sit back, maybe for swells or something like that, or something really ambient, and let's say we threw in like the chorus and the delay with it too, we could get like super swirly with it. So all kinds of fun stuff you can do with that. So if I wanted like a faster song, I would probably do something with the plate mode. So I would go a little bit less mix, go pretty high on the color and maybe the decay right there. And let's just do like a little palm muty type thing to see what that would feel like. All right, so let's go for something a little bit more on the ambient side. We've got the hall mode pulled up on the Flint. We've got some chorus going on the Julianna. Standard delay stuff going on the El Cap. Got clean boost here, and we've got a little bit of a bass cut and a high push on the EB10. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire board. Again, this stuff changes, just, you know, how I'm using stuff. It's gonna change. I'm gonna come in with like a different inspiration every single day. And that's what's been most fun about this setup. It's like, I come in every day, something could be a little bit different. I could get a slightly different tone in my head, and I feel like I have the stuff to be able to pull that off freely now, instead of kind of being chained to the normal way I've run stuff. So yeah.